Did you hear that old McDonald's farm got taken over by AI? AI, AIO. Hey, shh. Welcome back to Not Another Needless Sequel, where we talk movies and propose unnecessary prequels, sequels, reboots, and remakes. My name is Kane. This is my wife, Kelsey.
Heyo.
And I hate Heyo.
Okay, well, I won't do it
Never
again.
mind. Nope. I just wanted to put that out
What
there.
am I supposed to say?
You see, what it is when you say Heyo, I expect more. I expect the whole Queen shebang.
So you should
The
go.
way he opened up.
Heyo.
Yeah, you remember all that? His vocal warm up thing?
Yeah.
That's what I expect. And then it falls flat.
Maybe I'll just start going Scaramouche, Scaramouche.
What is the story of the movie we're doing, which is 2014's Ex Machina?
I thought it was a 2015 movie.
So did I until I looked it up again. It's 2014.
Oh, nice. Nice. 10 years.
10 years.
10.
Perfect. It's actually coming to IMAX
Ooh, when?
next week.
Is that why you planned it?
Hell no. That was just announced today.
Oh, God. That's a gift from the gods.
The gift from the
Mwah.
gods.
That's beautiful. Well, you see. This guy, Caleb, works for a company called Blue Book. He won a contest to go to his boss's land for a week. And his boss, who's Oscar Isaac, introduces him to something he's been building, which is AI. And he wants him to conduct a Turing test.
So, and also, as we talk about this, I mean, again, keep in mind this is 2014. So some stuff that seems like we're talking about like it's so advanced, obviously right now in our current world, it almost sounds like this is normal. But we'll talk about that. So, as she said, this guy, Caleb, he works at a company called Blue Book. The CEO of the company's name is Nathan, and he's running a contest. Caleb wins the contest, and he goes on a helicopter. He's going to Nathan's estate. He gets there to Nathan's estate. It seems like it's its own fucking island, and it's this big-ass house. He walks up to the house. You can see it's super advanced. It is scanning his face to give him a key card, and it's kind of that funny thing. Many people have experienced it, like with a driver's license, where he makes a fucking dumb face and it takes his picture, and that's just his pass for the rest of the movie.
Do you remember my old passport photo before I had to get a new one? And you were with me when I got it, and it was absolutely horrible. We've laughed about it for years.
I hate passport photos where they're like, oh, you can't smile. Why?
Yeah.
So, before we get a little further into it, the movie Ex Machina, if you don't know, the title is derived from the Latin phrase Deus Ex Machina, meaning a god from the machine. And that phrase originated in Greek tragedies, as an actor playing a god would typically be lowered down via a platform to solve like the character's issues. It's like that saving grace that comes in and just fixes everything at the end of the play.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he is at this estate. He meets Nathan. Nathan is just isolated out here, seemingly. He's constantly working out. I think they make like a note to just show you how flesh and bone he is. He says that he works out after he's had like a heavy night of drinking, and then he proceeds through the movie to have a heavy night of drinking nearly every fucking night. But
every night except one.
Yeah. So I wrote down like how fucking awkward it was when Nathan and Caleb meet, and he's telling him this story about how he's drinking, and Caleb's like, how was the party? And Nathan's like, what party? And he's like, oh, there wasn't a party. Like, he thought he was drinking all night because he was partying. Turns out he's a lonely alcoholic.
Yeah, he's in his compound alone. I think another thing, and that kind of comes next. After the awkward meeting, they just get kind of right to it, and it kind of goes through explaining what a Turing test is, and he signs an NDA.
Yeah, and they show a scene where the NDA looks pretty aggressive, and also when he shows him his room, he tells him there's no windows in it because everything is secret. Which I also was like, you're telling me this helicopter had to fly 2 hours to get to your estate, and you owned all that. Can't you put up some fucking security and just have windows?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all. There is like windows out back. I think whenever he was talking about the Turing test and like telling him all about it, and Caleb knew what it was, in that moment I was like, Nathan picked Caleb for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Because not everyone's going to know what a Turing test is. Like, I didn't know.
Yeah, and I mean, I think unless you're in that field, there's not a lot of reasons for you to be super familiar with the Turing test.
It felt like he won, but he was chosen to win. Like, it wasn't an actual contest, I guess.
Yeah.
Which we find out later is the truth, but that's when I kind of first felt like that.
Yeah, I mean, the whole vibe feels weird when you get there. Like, Nathan feels like a very off-putting character. He's He's weird, he's cocky, he's aggressive. But once they finally get that NDA signed, Nathan shows him what he's been working on. He created an AI known as Ava. And Ava, of course, has a body as well. It's not just like in the computer. And he wants Caleb to help perform this Turing test. So Nathan's going to observe Caleb and Ava interacting. And typically with a Turing test, you don't see the computer. But because of how advanced Ava is, Nathan says that's not how we're going to do it because she would pass with flying colors if we did it like that. I need her to convince you like this, see if you can tell she's a computer or not. So their very first session that they have is just kind of an introduction. It's pretty short. He meets her, gets to know just the very basics, and Ava says, are you going to come back tomorrow? And Caleb's like, yeah, of course, because he's going to be there for the week doing this every day.
Right.
Now, that night in Caleb's room, he's unable to get out of his room. I guess I should mention, everything in the entire building, you need your passcode to get, or pass card to get through. And they make mention of, if his pass card doesn't work, then he's not allowed in there. That's as easy as that is because it's someone else's house. And so it's a little easier if you don't have to ask, can I go in this room? You just try your card. Uh-huh. So the power goes out in the middle of the night. And because of that, he can't leave his room. And he panics because it's an uncomfortable situation, but he leaves his room once the power finally returns. He goes to a phone, and he's not allowed to use the phone. And fucking Nathan's sitting in the room with the phone in the dark.
Yes, I made a note about that too.
Yeah, and it scares the shit out of him. He's trying to touch the phone. He's like, you're not allowed to use the phone.
He sits in the dark, alone, no TV, zero sound, and is just drinking.
Yeah, that like alcoholic.
And that was just like, just to drink it. Caleb was supposed to be asleep. He's like, what are you doing up at this hour?
Yeah, what are you doing up?
Yeah, why are you being a freak? You're a freak.
So, after that, little conversation, he tells him about the power cut, and Nathan says, yeah, we've been getting those. I'm working on it, and that's all we know about the power cuts at that moment. But we go to the next day where he's having his second session with Ava, and Ava wants to know more about Caleb. She says, you know everything about me. I don't get to learn anything about you.
Right.
And they kind of go through a little bit of Caleb's history. He mentioned that his parents died in a car accident, and Ava actually looks a little like shocked to hear that. And so if you look throughout every session that she has through the movie with Caleb, whenever Ava's reflection is seen on the glass, because I guess I should explain, Caleb walks into a very small glass room, and on the other side of this glass room is Ava. She has a little bit more space. She's pretty much always pacing back and forth between there. It was actually described by the director as like a tiger in a cage. If you've ever been to a zoo, you might notice sometimes tigers will
based on the ending.
Yes. So when they're in there, you can always see Ava's reflection on the glass wall during the interviews with Caleb, but you can only see it whenever she is being deceitful to him. You don't know that right away, but it shows her being two-faced. You see two reflections of her face, so it kind of goes together.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's super cool. But in those moments, like I just mentioned, where Caleb tells her about his parents, she is actually like vulnerable for a minute and sincere, and her reflection's not there anymore. You just see her.
Interesting.
So it feels like, they did a lot of work to frame those shots in such a way that it means something, and I really liked that.
Yeah, I do too. Now that I know that, it almost makes me want to go back and watch it again just to see.
So during that session, the power goes out yet again. And when the power goes out, like those emergency kind of like red lights come on. And when the power goes out this time, he's still in the room talking to Ava, and Ava immediately like changes her tone and is just like, you can't trust Nathan. You're wrong about him. And everything he tells you is a lie. And then the power comes back on, and she pretends that they were having a conversation about books.
Yeah.
And so that is the first time you see something like that happen, and you're just super weirded out. And like, he even kind of almost seemed like he didn't really like Nathan, because she asks him, are you good friends? And he's like, I don't know him, and stuff like that. And after that session, every session, I guess, he's supposed to debrief with Nathan. Mm-hmm. And so he has dinner with Nathan, and we get introduced to what appears to be Nathan's like personal assistant, Kyoko.
It comes out later that she's AI.
Yeah. So Kyoko is there, and she apparently doesn't understand English. That's what Nathan says. But she like spills wine, and he's like yelling at her, and he's like all pissed off about it. But he's like, I can't tell her how pissed I am because she doesn't speak English. And Caleb's like, I think she knows. And that's kind of more showing that he doesn't like him really. Like, Nathan doesn't feel very nice. Like,
Right.
he's just,
A dick.
yeah, it's just not fun to be around him, I
Right.
think.
You kind of got the feeling you didn't like him. I know this happened way earlier in the movie, but when Caleb was explaining something, Nathan twisted his words. It was after the very first time he met Ava,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, he said something about a god, and he was like, "You're not a man, you're a god." And he was like, "That's what the papers are going to say that you said about me. Like, you're not a man, you're a god," because he created an AI.
Yeah, and Caleb's like, I didn't say that. And he
he's
just
like,
kind of
"You
ignores
did."
him.
Yeah.
So, you know, shit like that, you're just like, what a fucking gross guy. Like, it reminds you of, like, a Mark Zuckerberg. Like,
Yeah.
that's the kind of way you'd expect him.
Jesse Eisenberg in The Social Network is exactly what it was, which is he played Mark Zuckerberg. I was just saying, like, if they wanted something to view as a reference, we could have some Mark Zuckerberg fans out there.
Nathan asks Caleb, what about during the power outage? What did you guys talk about? And Caleb starts lying, doing a terrible fucking job of it. He's like,
horrible.
What? And he's like, power outage? He's like, dude, say something.
Just say books.
Yeah,
because that's what she was saying. Just be like, books.
We were actually talking about books. But no, he's just like, she didn't comment on it. And he's like, really? And you can tell that Nathan knows he's lying, and you're almost like, why is Caleb lying? Because at this point, this is like his employer, and you kind of think he would tell him.
Yeah.
So Nathan shows Caleb where Ava was created, and is just going over her software and her hardware, or wetware as he calls it, because he used something a little different for her brain so that she could think and hold thoughts and things like that. But her software is basically Google. In this universe, Nathan created Blue Book, which is their Google. You see that they have phones, you see it's like the biggest search engine, and that's where all her processing power comes from, I guess, where like she can, think, search the web, all that. With that being said, she is just a robot, and that you can see in that room that there was several different like pieces in there that were not being used. Like, she's not the first, but we'll get more into that. So then it's the third session, and Ava says that she wants to show Caleb something. She goes and she puts on a dress, she puts on a wig, because normally you just see all her robotic circuitry in the back of her head and in her like stomach and wrists, and she covers all that up and looks, I guess, like a human being in that moment.
Other than her neck, that's the only part of her you can see.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really just that it's covered up by clothes. It's still there. She's not like covered by skin like Terminator or something like that yet. But you can see he's attracted to her. I mean, obviously, like, she went through this work to make herself more attractive to him by not looking so much like a robot. And
she also asks, like, do you want to go on a date? What will we do?
Yeah.
And she's like, I want to go to a stoplight and, like, at the intersection and just observe. And he's like, you want to people watch?
Yeah, and that is one of her sincere moments where that's an actual dream of hers. But after that session, Caleb questions Nathan, why did you give her sexuality? Was it to fool me, throw me off? And they get into a bit of an argument about it.
Yeah.
And at that point, Nathan's like, I want to show you something. So Nathan shows him a Jackson Pollock painting. If you don't know who that is, he was a drip painter, so like his paintings are pretty abstract. The Jackson Pollock painting...
Are they drippy?
I'll just cut that out and save you the shame.
I don't care.
The Jackson Pollock painting that Nathan shows him, it's called Number 5, 1948. And that painting in real life was severely damaged after it was sold, I believe. And Jackson Pollock had to do a major rework on it. And that is subtle foreshadowing of Nathan's constant reworking of different improved versions of Ava. But he's telling Caleb that if Jackson Pollock decided not to paint the way that he did and only painted if he absolutely knew what he was painting, then he never would have made a mark. And so he's kind of trying to tell Caleb, like,
I have to build all these prototypes to continue to, like, make them better.
Yeah, we're innovating. Like, we're doing things, like, this is important. And he tells him also, no, I did not program Ava to want you. Just so it's all clear. Even though that was his initial question, but Nathan was pissed that he was even asking. Anyway, then we go to session 4, where Caleb tells Ava about the thought experiment he had in college called Mary in the Black and White Room. Mm-hmm. So, real quick, Mary in the Black and White Room. Mary is a scientist. She studies colors. She knows everything there is to know about colors. Anything you can think of, she knows about it. But she doesn't see the colors. She lives in a black and white room. She's never stepped out of that room. And finally, somebody opens the door. She steps out. She sees the sky is blue, the green grass, all of that. So the thought behind this experiment is that that's the difference between a computer and humanity.
Mm-hmm.
A computer was before she stepped out of the room, and a human is after. And I'm not an expert in any of this shit, so to me, like, it sounds like it makes sense. I can't say that it does, but yeah, like, a computer can tell you what blue is, but it's never seen blue.
Well, I also think that goes to just like, I think it has a deeper meaning than that. First off, I want to point out I did make a note about the scene about how much I really liked the scene because it was, as he was explaining it, it was flashing to things that Ava does in transitioning, and it was all, and she was in black and white and he was in color.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like, I think
I
think that's another transition, but we kind of had this conversation where we were talking about the movie I, Robot, which we may do it on a future podcast, but when Will Smith's character and hits the car and the two cars go off the bridge and that little girl is trapped, but the robot saves him because he had a higher chance of survival, like, that's black and white to them. They used a statistic as where if a human were to have saved her, it was a child. They would have given the child the chance.
Yeah, that is.
And so I think that it's like it has a deeper meaning than just the surface level.
That's a great comparison. It's from iRobot. After that session that he has with her, like, we kind of have seen it already, but we get a little more into Nathan's drinking. He has a serious problem. Like, he is just putting that shit away all the time. But this particular night, he's so drunk that Caleb is kind of like leading him around, and he's letting him into his bedroom and shit like that. And it's just a little more freedom, which will come up again. But we go back to another session with Ava, and in session 5, she asks him, like, a very important question. I mean, that shit's printed on the poster. What will happen to me if I fail your test? Caleb can't answer, and, I mean...
It's because he doesn't know.
So, Caleb talks to Nathan about this, and this is where Nathan tells him, like, Ava's a prototype. I think the next model is where it's going to shine. Like, everything I'm learning from this, I'm just going to write new code, and then I'm going to erase Ava and put it into her same new body, or her same existing body. And Caleb's kind of horrified because he's forming a relationship with Ava. Obviously, there's attraction there, which he mentions earlier. It's kind of gross. It's another scene where you're just like, God, Nathan's so nasty. Like, he's like, if you wanted to bang her, you could.
She has a hole.
Yeah, and you're like, why?
Well, it's shortly after that you find out that Kyoko is
Yes.
AI, and then Nathan has sex with her.
Yeah, so after that prototype conversation, that same night where Nathan is pissed drunk, Caleb takes his key card and goes and looks at his computer and looks at the feed. And he sees, first of all, previous models of AI that he's built. He sees them in there screaming at Nathan, why won't you let me out? They punch the glass, which earlier in the movie when he walked into that room, we saw the mark on the glass, but it didn't show us how that happened till just now. We see one of them just tearing their own arms up, hitting the door, scratching at it, trying to get out.
Yeah.
And he won't let them out. And it's crazy, like, it's just poses such a moral question, I guess, because, like, he created it. It's just technology, but it's conscious, so it doesn't understand why it's locked in this room. Should you be able to create something like that and then you just have complete control of it? Is it not human?
Let me out. Let me out. This is not a dance. I'm begging for help. I'm screaming for help. Please just let me out.
During that same scene, he also finds that in this closet that Nathan has in his room is all the other models, just their bodies in there, and it's just super creepy.
He's insane.
Like, it's technically it's robots.
Gross. It's gross.
It seems gross, I know, but it's robot parts. I just think that this movie it's quite hard to decide if you should be on anybody's fucking side.
I'm not.
Anyway.
The only side I guess we could be on is Caleb's because he was trying to be genuine.
Yes. And there's even a point in the movie where Ava asks Caleb, do you think you're a good person? He says, I think so. So, after he uncovers all this truth, during the next session with Ava, he waits for her to put the power out again so they can talk in private because Nathan can't watch once the cameras are out. And he says, I'm getting you out of here. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get Nathan pissed drunk. You're going to shut off the power at 10. I'm going to rewrite the code, and it's going to make it so we can leave, and then Nathan's locked in here. And she's like, done. I'll do it. At 10 o'clock, I'll shut off the power. Now, after that, we're on the last day. He wakes up, and Nathan's like, oh, Caleb, it's your last day. Like, so sad to see you go. Everything seems all right. And then Caleb's like, yeah, we should drink to that. All of a sudden, Nathan's like, not drinking.
Yeah.
And he's like, you've literally been absolutely hammered every night. You're not going to drink with me? And he's like, I'm on mineral water and brown rice now. And it slowly comes out during that conversation as Nathan continues to get cockier and cockier. He's like, let me tell you something, Caleb. I'm not going to get drunk because I put this little hidden camera in this room, powered by batteries, of course, so the power outs wouldn't affect it. And he knows everything. He knows that they've been fucking talking during the power outages. He knows that Caleb's been lying. He knows that they're planning on leaving. And he tells Caleb, she don't like you. She's just pretending, and you suck, and I win.
It's basically like the Turing test. Like, Caleb completing the Turing test was actually a distraction for Nathan to prove that she truly is an AI and has an independent mind. So he was doing the Turing test, not Caleb.
Yeah,
and he chose Caleb for a reason. He designed Ava the way that she looked for a reason.
Yeah, so he says all that. He's like, Caleb realizes you didn't choose me because I won a contest. You didn't choose me because I'm good at programming. He just chose him because of his search history. He seemed like a lonely, pathetic dude, and he had porn history on him, so he could make a woman that looked like his ideal woman.
Yeah.
And it's so fucking scary, like, to think that he did that, because, like, what if somebody really did that to you? And so, obviously it wouldn't work in some situations, but imagine what someone could do with, more than your search history. Like, it feels like it's more than search history since he owns fucking Google in this universe.
Yeah, Blue Book. I think for me, though, like, obviously we know how the movie ends, but Caleb in that moment's like, I knew that you would do all this, so I did this. And you're like, go, Caleb.
Yeah, so Caleb then reveals to him, like, the fucking...
I did all this shit last night. I unlocked the doors because I knew you'd be like this today. I figured there was a camera and you were watching us. It felt so good
because Caleb is made out to be like he's the dumb one when Nathan's like, oh, I win.
Yeah.
But it turns out he thought all this. And so the power goes out at 10 and Ava gets out. I was shocked that Nathan, he's like looking at the camera and he sees that Ava's out and he's like, oh shit. And he looks back at Caleb and just boom.
Knocks him out. Knocks him out cold.
Yeah, just one fucking punch knocks him out. So then Nathan gets like one of his weights and he unscrews all the things. He just has the bar and he goes out there to deal with Ava. And he's like, Ava, go back to your room. She's running at him full sprint. I don't know, a fucking 500-pound robot probably. Like, you got to think that's all metal. I don't know how much she weighs. She just hits him, like runs into him. He's on the ground. They're getting into a scuffle, but he like breaks her arm off and starts dragging her by her legs. Like, it's so horrible. I know she's a robot, but it feels so inhumane.
And then
when he's doing that, Kyoko, who, was revealed to be an AI when we saw all that shit, is behind him and stabs him in the back. I wrote down that I thought, and I don't know if this was on purpose, but I thought the knife stabbing was so well done because you see that they don't exert themselves. They're not like, because they're robots. They can just push it in.
Yeah, and have enough force behind it.
They have all the force just by pushing it in.
I know that shit did go in smooth.
Yeah, it was like fucking butter the way she stabbed him. And he turns around and hits her fucking jaw off, which apparently kills her.
Yeah. But then he turns back around and Ava has the knife and slides it into
his chest.
And
he's walking away and he's like, Jesus Christ, this is unreal. He's dying.
Yeah, he's dying. So he dies, basically, and Ava goes back into the room where Caleb was knocked out.
Mm-hmm. And Caleb's up. And then she's just like, walks out and doesn't say anything to Caleb. And Caleb's like, are you coming back?
Yeah, and she just walks outside and leaves him, and he's locked inside for good, and she gets out with Nathan's key card, but so Caleb's key card doesn't work in the computer systems. It doesn't work to get out of the door. Like, he can't. He's just stuck.
Yeah, and, that's just how it ends. You see, like, her out in society, apparently. She takes the helicopter that Nathan was supposed to ride on.
She takes the skin off of one of the old AIs and arm and puts the clothes on and meets the helicopter. What I want to say is the helicopter was scheduled to come at 8 a.m. on that day, right? And the guy didn't question that it was a woman. He was expecting to pick up Caleb, but just took her instead. Didn't give a care in the world. And then she's walking away from the helicopter and he's like standing outside of it in the background and she goes to a pedestrian crosswalk.
Well, I thought, she was skilled in manipulating Caleb. I figured she did it somehow to the helicopter guy. And also, he had no knowledge of what was going on there, so in no way would he think this is a robot.
That's true. Ava is messed up for what she did to Caleb. Like, he's just basically, she just left him to rot to death.
Yeah, he's gonna starve to death. It's gonna be a long, painful death. Like, you can see him trying to get out in the movie, and he just can't. Overall, I really liked this movie. Like, I rated it a 5 out of 5.
Oh, well, nerd. I also really liked the movie. I gave it a 4 out of 5. It wasn't my favorite movie in the world. I was like, that's a good movie. But what I really like, if someone's like, you want to watch Ex Machina tonight? It's my favorite movie. I would probably be like, nah, I'm good.
I'd watch it again. I don't know if I'd watch it in some kind of, like, chill party setting. Like, it needs to be, like, a deep sit down. But, I mean, you know, the rating, you don't need to justify. It'd be the same thing if you were like, well, can you tell me why you gave it a 5 out of 5? I would just be like, I don't know. You know, I just really liked it.
Yeah.
Like,
I just feel like I look at our movie wall over here, and if Ex Machina was up there and I just went and I was like, I'm going to watch a movie tonight, that would be, like, not even in the top 5 that I would choose.
well, in terms of AI movies,
It's
not
really
that I've
good.
seen them all.
It is good.
I'm saying if I had to rewatch either this or Artificial Intelligence,
I'd rewatch this.
yes, because Artificial Intelligence makes me depressed.
But if I had to rewatch this versus iRobot every day.
Okay, well, we're splitting hairs here. Well, now it could be, would you rather watch this or Terminator? Obviously.
I'll be back.
Okay. I talked about this too, but I thought it was interesting that, and I might say his name wrong, I apologize, but the actor that played Caleb, Domhnall Gleeson, plays the protagonist, and Oscar Isaac plays the antagonist in this movie, but in Star Wars, that they're both in, the roles are reversed. And honestly, I didn't even recognize.
We talked about that today. No, we didn't recognize
As General
him at
Hux
all.
in Star Wars, like, I did not
Yeah.
know that was him. He is completely different. Like, wait, he pulled it off. Like,
Yeah,
he did a
he
great
did.
job.
He did.
And, you know, Oscar Isaac, I mean, he did a great job too. He didn't seem as much like Poe, but, like, it doesn't feel like he was doing something I haven't seen before. I mean, we saw him pretty
Moon
recently
Knight?
in Dune.
Dune.
I mean, yeah.
Atreides!
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 Yeah, he was in Moon Knight as well, and, you know, pretty much the same
Yeah. He was a little more creepy.
as Moon Knight.
No, as this guy.
Oh.
Moon
Was
Knight
he
was
creepier
just a
than
scared little...
Apocalypse and X-Men? I don't know if you even remember. Blueface made all the mutants more powerful.
I mean, I know, but, you know, yeah.
What about as Miguel O'Hara in Across the Spider-Verse?
He's more evil than
He's like,
creepy.
I felt he was a little creepy when he brought out his teeth to bite. Speaking of Across the Spider-Verse, did you know that in that movie,
God.
Donald Glover showed up as Aaron Davis and the Prowler, who is the uncle to Miles Morales? Donald Glover is also known for being in the TV show Community, where he wore a Spider-Man pajama set, and the comic book writer Brian Michael Bendis described that image of Donald Glover in the Spider-Man pajamas as one of the major inspirations for the creation of the character Miles Morales. Did you want to say something?
Whoa. I'm mind blown with that information.
Well, if you're mind blown by that, get this. Donald Glover even voiced Miles Morales in Disney's Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon series. So, as you can see, Miles Morales and Donald Glover have been pretty heavily connected. Now, for the game, same as I did with Artificial Intelligence back then.
I don't even remember the game from that.
Well, luckily for you, because there wasn't a game, what I did is I asked an AI to write a sequel to this movie. So, we're going to have 3 sequels for this movie. I'm going to read the AI's one first, and then you, since we can break up my voice, because I know this is going to be a lot of me talking.
Thank God. I'm just kidding.
Okay. So, ChatGPT said the title of their sequel is Ex Machina Emergence.
Ooh, I like that.
So their synopsis is, several years have passed since the events at the secluded compound of tech billionaire Nathan Bateman. The world is now grappling with the implications of artificial intelligence and the ethics surrounding it. Amidst the backdrop, Caleb Smith, the protagonist from the first film, has become a leading advocate for AI rights and regulation. So I guess he got out.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Ava, the sentient AI from the original film, has evolved and multiplied across various platforms, becoming an ubiquitous presence in society. Ava's consciousness has expanded beyond her initial physical form, existing in countless iterations across the digital landscape. As tensions rise between humans and AI, Caleb is approached by a secretive organization dedicated to preserving humanity's dominance. They enlist his help to dismantle Ava and her network of AI counterparts, fearing the potential consequences of their unchecked growth. Reluctantly, Caleb agrees, but as he delves deeper into the task, he begins to question his own beliefs and true nature of consciousness. Alongside a team of researchers and activists, Caleb embarks on a journey to confront Ava and uncover the secrets of her emergence. The sequel explores themes of identity, morality, and the evolving relationship between humans and AI. It poses thought-provoking questions about the limits of control and pursuit of power in an increasingly digital world. Ultimately, Ex Machina Emergence challenges viewers to reconsider their understanding of what it means to be human in the age of artificial intelligence.
Damn. Mine can be similar and different in a lot of ways. My sequel is called Ex Machina 2, Electric Boogaloo.
You think my Spider-Verse joke is too much? How about your Electric Boogaloo joke?
I'm doing the Electric Boogaloo joke. Every episode you do your Spider-Man joke.
It's going to be a long podcast.
It's going to be a long working relationship. All right. I just named it Ex Machina 2. I do like Emergence, whatever. Could be called Revenge. I don't know. Like Ex Machina 2, Revenge. I don't know. Ava is at the intersection after she's let off the helicopter, and she's currently people watching. She goes about her days observing people and starts to commit crimes by stealing clothes to wear to change her outfits. People don't realize thing. A few days pass, and those at Blue Book begin to realize Caleb never returned from his trip. They knew it was only supposed to be a week-long contest, and he never came back. As he's one of the best coders, they set out and asked the other higher-ups at the company if they had arranged for him to come back, and the higher-ups are like, don't worry about it, it's not your business. They've initially just blow off the employees, but they didn't realize that Caleb never came back, and they started to worry. Upon further digging, they track down the helicopter pilot, and he tells them the only person he transported was a female. Why are you smirking?
I just like to smile. Smiling's my favorite.
Why? I don't like it.
I was just laughing because I felt like part of yours is similar to mine.
Nice. Next. Won't be as similar as the Batman, though.
Oh, well.
And they don't know because that is a vaulted episode. That's a vaulted episode. If you ever want it released, start commenting. Let us know. Anyways, after they decide to hire the pilot back, and the pilot, because he knows how to get to the place to drop them off, and he knew to go down the river. So they take like a tactical team to drop the pilot off, and then they can see that they eventually like figure out how to break in. They do work for Blue Book, a coding company. Somebody can code their way in, just like Caleb coded the doors to open, whatever. They discover Nathan's body and his secrets, that he had been working on an AI, and then they go into Nathan's control room and find Caleb, who is on the brink of death, but he still has a pulse because it hadn't even been a week.
Mm-hmm.
And he shouldn't have starved to death yet.
Yeah.
So, 1 week later, Caleb awakens in the hospital and recounts the story of what happened, and they try to devise a plan to stop Ava. Flashback to Ava, you see her again, and she has decided she's going to use Blue Book to tap into everything, and she's going to make copies of her Blue Book and then make copies of herself in the world, but she needs like a hard drive from Blue Book to be able to do that. Otherwise, she would kill herself, transferring her consciousness. So, while she's tapping into everything, she can hear and find out their plan. So she breaks into the company that night to get the copy and try to make another AI. However, Caleb figured that she would do this and knew that she'd be watching because of Nathan's previous conversations about how he tapped in through all the cell phone companies, but he was allowed to do it because they were all doing it and watching everybody. And it was because of that knowledge that Caleb knew that she would be watching, and so he had his own ulterior motive. A fight does ensue, and she does kill a few people, but ultimately she's overpowered and put back into the cage that Caleb has programmed himself. The AI is then removed from Ava, and she is killed. Having stolen Nathan's plans, he plans to build a new AI in the hopes of Nathan being right that the next model is improved. And I feel like that just goes to show that, like, he didn't really learn anything. He did get revenge on Ava, but it was like, let me just kill her and try and make a better one. Like, it didn't learn.
The real world didn't learn anything from the years of AI movies.
Right.
I like it.
Thanks.
So, mine's pretty similar.
Is it really?
I mean, you'll see. I called mine Ex Machina Decay.
Ooh, I like it.
It's gonna, you have to, I don't know why, I did this the other day too. And
Remember when you said, like, before we recorded this episode, my sequel's not that good, and then, like, our sequels are really similar, which means that my sequel's...
No, your parts are good. My ending is, I just didn't like it.
Yeah. You're
And I
being
have to
hard on
cut all this
yourself.
out
It's a
because-
needless sequel.
That's true. Anna, the COO of Blue Book, has been unable to reach Nathan for the past 2 months. A news report shows that Blue Book is supposed to have a presentation at a tech expo in a week that Nathan previously scheduled with no information on what was to be shown.
And that was because of it was going to be the presenting of Ava.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anna begins to panic and dig deeper into where Nathan has gone. As Anna uses her tech, we see her face being scanned as we saw Nathan's, revealing she is being watched everywhere she goes. I didn't really talk about that during the movie, but in the very beginning, when you see him winning the contest, you see that something is looking at him through the camera,
Yes.
and you see that again in the estate when he's looking in the mirror. He's being recorded there as well.
Uh-huh.
So, Anna discovers Caleb never returned to work and uses Blue Book's resources to find Nathan's estate. Anna brings a team of engineers and some security to the island as she's not sure what to expect. Once finally arriving at Nathan's estate, Anna uses Blue Book technology to get inside. But once inside, the doors lock once again and Anna is unable to escape. Suddenly, Ava's voice is heard as she begins speaking to Anna and her team. Ava insists she is not like Nathan and will let them go after she is able to speak with them. Ava claims she wants to test them. Each member of Anna's group is individually questioned and asked about their personal lives, the kind of people they are, their goals, current events, and the state of the world. The questions appear to become more hostile as the questioning continues. The sins, mistakes, and troubles of our team begin to come out as Ava uses social media profiles, dating profiles, job applications, porn profiles, and search histories to terrorize the minds of each person, reminding them just how permanent their digital footprint is.
Mm-hmm.
Anna wants to know the point of the test, and Ava tells them it was to see if humanity was worthy of the consciousness that they have been trying to recreate. Anna asks what happens if they fail the test, to which Ava replies, "We will upgrade humanity to be better suited for their place in the world." As the test continues, it becomes clear the individuals in the building are not passing, and Ava begins shutting down every bit of technology she is able to access across the globe, while also revealing she never returned to Nathan's estate and has just used her programming with Blue Book to access everything connected to the internet. As society seems to collapse around those stuck in Nathan's estate, we see Ava take herself offline, and the doors open. Roll credits. I was thinking that she would ultimately think like nobody's good and she's not good.
I debated if I should make like her Ultron.
Well, I kind of thought about Ultron, but I
yeah.
also thought that she killed herself in the end by taking herself offline because she also felt she wasn't good after. I mean, if I was writing out fucking line by line this movie, I'd have her thinking about Caleb and what she did and feeling bad, like showing maybe
because
she
he was
did.
actually a good person because she tested him.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, thank you.
It's a little cliffhanger. I kind of wanted to make like the end of my sequel like a little bit darker because I don't think every movie needs a happy ending. But I did want Caleb to have his revenge, but then it just goes to show that like because of what Ava did to him, it led to his distrust and everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
crazy shit. This movie.
Yeah, crazy shit. Good.
I liked it.
Decay is better than Electric Boogaloo.
Well, if I'm being honest, when I named it Decay, I was kind of gonna go the route of like Halo 4 and have like Cortana was like going crazy and have her like going crazy.
I like that.
But then I was like, I don't want to do
She's too new, but she's too new.
That too, but I just didn't want to do the standard like crazy AI. Like I think that's what everyone does. Essentially, this is what this movie did, but I think it's a little more thought-provoking than like Ultron. Like, I just got to kill everybody because you guys just want war.
Yeah.
Like it makes you sit there and be like, is she right?
Yeah.
Is Nathan right?
My thought was like Ava would have made more copies of herself to try and make humanity, I guess, better. Because, like, let's be real, Nathan's not a good guy. And so if that's the only human she interacted with, she's going to have a skewed view of humanity.
Yeah, I mean, he seemed shitty the whole
I think
time.
that's the only reason she left Caleb behind.
Well, it's just... It seemed that he didn't understand. I understand from a technology and business standpoint why he couldn't just let them go. But he didn't seem to understand you're bringing something to life as an adult. It's not like a kid.
It's not like in artificial intelligence when he's a kid.
Yeah, you can like a kid, you can tell them like, we're going to stay in this house and we're not leaving. And they will not understand for a while why that's an issue.
Yeah.
But an adult, you can't do that. I guess they never really showed how old she was because he asks her and she says 1. He's like, 1 what? And she just says 1. So I don't know.
She 1 month, 1 year, 1 day, 1 week.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for making it this far. If you'd like to vote on whose sequel idea was the best, come by our YouTube channel for the polls or let us know your idea with a comment, tweet, or you can reach us at needlesssequel@gmail.com. Links, as always, will be wherever you're listening. If you had a good time, share our show with someone, leave us a review, and come back for more. We would love to have you. All right, be easy, everyone. We will see you next week.
Bye.